It's back in August. Our friend Ed Crawford is in France, and Bill Hansen couldn't make it because of a family commitment. So we're very happy to have our Director of Special Services, Dr. Laura Frederickson, up here with us, and we want to welcome her. I call this meeting to order. Member Slegapunko, would you please take roll?
Thank you, Chair Murneke. Member Harla? Here. Member Johnston? Here. Member Leffler-Kemp? Here. Chair Murneke?
Here.
I am here. Member Welty?
Here.
Member Westholm?
Here.
And Superintendent Gronseth is excused, and so is Assistant Superintendent Crawford and Deputy Clerk Hansen and Secretary Tebow. And student representatives. Let's see. Representative Manning is absent, and Representative Tremble. We have a quorum, Chair Murneke.
Thank you, Member Slegapunko. Would you all please join me in honoring America as we say our Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We now go on to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? So moved by Member Westholm. Is there a second? Second by Member Leffler-Kemp. Any discussion? No? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. That passes. Reading and approving of the minutes. Excuse me for a second. Okay. The regular minutes of the regular school board meeting on Tuesday, June 17th, 2014. Is there a motion to approve? Westholm moves. Second? Second by Member Harla. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Is that the only one? I think that's the only one.
I think that's
No, yeah, that's it. Okay, good. We now go to the part I enjoy the most, is school and community recognition, and we have a very nice group that we're excited about today. We're going to ask the board members to come out front, and Mr. Swirsky is going to be reading the award. Thank you. Ooh, let's see.
Members of the board, this month I'm pleased to present representatives from the ISD 709 Child Nutrition Department for recognition. If I can have you all come forward. A warm welcome to Pam Bowe, the manager and registered dietitian. Sheila Oak, area supervisor. Betsy Sislow, site supervisor. Kathy Johnson, cafe manager, East High School. Debbie McCoskey, cafe manager, Ordine East. Liz Russell, cafe manager, Lakewood. Jody Poof, summer cafe manager, Lester Park. Patty Barber, cafe manager, Laura MacArthur. Wendy Wakefield, cafe manager, Stowe. And Susan Geisler, cafe manager, Lowell. Some of them can't be with us tonight, but earlier this year, the food service programs at Duluth East, Lakewood, and Ordine East passed some rigorous federal and state audits by the Minnesota Food and Nutrition Department. The ISD 709 Child Nutrition Program also passed a summer audit and review conducted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture with flying colors. School district food service programs are regularly audited and must pass to maintain and remain part of the USDA food service program. The audits reviewed many areas, including but not limited to student applications, daily business procedures in the kitchens, manager's office and child nutrition main office, HACCP compliance, health department reports, breakfast and lunch menu analysis, both nutritional and financial, ISD 709 wellness policy, sanitation, daily meal counts, and monthly financial claim and special diets. The auditors were very complimentary of the systems in place to serve appetizing meals to students within USDA and state regulations. Congratulations to our Child Nutrition Department for all they do to support education.
Our food service staff, hardworking, they take so much good care of our kids and work well with them. We really appreciate all they do as a ward. Well deserved. Thanks again, lady. There we go. Okay, and now we move on to the audience. Again, we have 3 minutes to speak. We're hoping that we follow the policy of civility, the civility project, and hopefully that we can express issues without getting into any personal attacks. So, our first speaker is James Youngman. Welcome, Mr. Youngman. Thanks for coming out tonight. We need to turn that mic. Can you hit that button? There you go.
Is this on?
Thank you.
Obviously. Okay. Good evening, members of the board. I'm James Youngman, Duluth resident. I'm a licensed psychologist and therapist. Now I'm partially retired. Recently, the taxpayers of Duluth granted a very generous special levy. I'm concerned about the utilization of these funds due to some test results I've seen and recently discussed cuts in our curriculum. It appears that we're between the proverbial rock and a hard place. Here's the rock. Well, to my knowledge, Duluth's high school graduation rate exceeds the state average. I wonder what skills some of our kids are graduating with. Looking at Minnesota comprehensive assessment scores for the past several years, it appears that a strong majority or a near majority of our middle and high school students fall below agreed proficiency levels in science and mathematics. This is troubling to me. At the same time, here's the hard place. Consider these two numbers, 59 and 41. These numbers should be on the notes and in the minds of every board member every time the budget is discussed. 59 stands for the $59,000 that is the median annual household income in the state of Minnesota. And you guessed it, 41 stands for the $41,000 that is the median household income in Duluth. That's right, we fall fully $18,000 below our state's median for household income. We can't give you much more. So the need for quality education, especially in science and mathematics, is there, and the fact of limited taxpayer capacity is also there. To me, therefore, the impact of the new dollars and of a substantial part of our school district budget must be felt at the classroom level, not in desks, decor, electronics, AstroTurf, or pools. It must be felt in assuring that our teachers are receiving top-level continuing education and other professional development, and that their materials are of the best. Like many Duluth taxpayers, I've been astounded at the money that's gone into physical plant expenditures in recent years. It's time to put the money where it matters most, in maintaining and updating the knowledge and skills of the frontline people who make education happen. One other important thought. As we've been taught, a house divided against itself cannot stand, and so it is with this board. I ask that the attacks on member Art Johnson cease. The people of Art's district, people of as heterogeneous a racial mix as you will find in Duluth, chose him and support him, as do many others not of his district. He asks questions, challenges questionable practices and information, and takes a stand for his constituency. In short, Art does what a person with a public trust is expected to do. Folks, we need to respect our questioners and our challengers at all levels of government. They keep us honest. They keep government in its place. They keep us America. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the board, I wish you well, and I thank you for your attention and your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Youngman. Appreciate it. Our next speaker is Henry Banks. Welcome, Mr. Banks. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I just want to thank you for indulging me this few moments here. I'm going to start with a quote by George Bernard Shaw. And it says, "The right to know is like the right to live. It is fundamental and unconditional in its assumption that knowledge, like life, is a desirable thing." I need to tell you, approximately 47 days ago, I made a Minnesota data practices request to ISD 709 for public information. I wanted to know personally what the salaries were for your top 11 or 12 administrators. I received that information, but it was incomplete. I await the remaining part of that information. So when I looked at the salaries, I have it right here. I added up the 11 or 12 people making, I would say, over $80,000 up to nearly $170,000 per person, not including benefits. That's public information also. So I said to myself, that's probably close to $2 million annually for 11 or 12 people. So then I continued to do some research and found another quote by Charles Caleb Colton. "Pure truth, like gold, has been found unfit for circulation because men have discovered that it is far more convenient to adulterate the truth than to refine themselves." Everything you do as a school board member, as a superintendent, as an assistant superintendent, as a superintendent cabinet member, must be done in the best interest of the ultimate consumer, and that is the children of ISD 709. If what you do is not in the best interests of the children, you must move on. I'm here to implore you tonight to stop the infighting, because what that does is it says to our kids that our top officials in school district ISD 709 don't respect each other. So how can you expect children to expect each other? If that pains you, you need to move on. I ask questions about healthy and necessary dialogues. Questioning the board and the administration is healthy. You must decide, as board members, whether or not you're going to be respectful to each other. The Duluth community and citizens across the state of Minnesota are watching you, and they're watching your behaviors. We are bewildered by your behaviors. If you were assigned a grade today, what would that grade be? And I'm just going to close here because I know my time is up. And I would ask you to reconsider everything you've done in bringing in an outside attorney to investigate Art Johnston. And I would ask you to bring in a local mediator. Save the taxpayers money, keep the money local, and keep people in the community working. The unemployment rate for African Americans in Duluth is 24%, and it's 19% for American Indians. African Americans are 63% of the population lives in poverty, and 67.6% of the Native American population lives in poverty. So we need to keep the money local and stop sending it to the Twin Cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Banks. Our next speaker is Melanie Gruni. Thank you for coming out tonight. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Thank you. It's Melanie Groom. And I just want to thank the members of the board for the service that you do for Duluth. I know sometimes being a public servant isn't a thankful job. It can be a thankless job, and I want you to know we really appreciate it. And I especially want to thank you for reaffirming the resolution accepting the tools of civility. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. Appreciate that. Our next speaker is Lauren Martell. Welcome, Lauren. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Good evening. You disappoint me, Chair Murneke. You may not have noticed, but I was trying pretty hard to get along with you. I was doing that for two reasons. First, I did once see you as a fairly good guy, and I didn't want to cause you undue discomfort. Second, despite the denials of you and your allies, this school district is in dire straits, and I didn't think another fight was in this city's best interest. Why would you want one, sir? Do you not see that you're flying straight into the teeth of the fiercest fight yet? You must know on some level you're making a mistake and you're going to be held responsible for whatever happens. The clerk is behind all this, I have no doubt. I can see her MO all over it. She's not guided by ethics.
I'm going to ask you not to indulge any personal attacks, please.
She's driven by a personal vendetta, and everyone can see it. Can't you see what's coming? None of you? Ms. Harla, you have a PR background. Can't you see the PR nightmare you're careening into? I can guarantee you you're not going to be proud and excited. Are you incapable of learning, of looking at the past and projecting into the future? There could be people with protest signs outside this building. Inside, tensions could rise so high, you're going to have to post police officers again. Confrontation is almost assured. Why would you want that? For yourselves or for this district? Chair Murneke, you must know you're going to have to run right over me. I will never recognize this action as being legitimate. I will stand up against another perversion of representative democracy, another underhanded abuse of power. I will fight against this injustice with every fiber of my being. Do you have any idea what I've been through over the past couple of years, Mr. Murneke? What I've endured? I don't even think my allies in this room have any idea. Very few people in this city, having gone through what I've been through, would have the grit to be standing here yet. The fact that I am still standing here, sir, should give you no doubt as to my resolve. I don't want this fight. But I repeat, sir, if you intend to go the distance with this sham, you will have to run right over me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martell. Ms. Harla, are there any other people who signed up? No, thank you. That concludes today's audience. Readings and petitions and communications. We're in the process of discussing this as a board. There was a letter, I don't know if I can, well, it's printed here, so I guess I can say there's a letter addressed to the school board from Kevin Flynn expressing his concerns related to the Duluth East volleyball coach selection process. One of the tough things we go through in the board are the data privacy rules, and this involved a number of people hired and not hired. So We are just going to acknowledge that Mr. Flynn did send us a letter relating to a coaching situation. And again, the board members have talked together, and we're going to try to come up with some kind of an idea, some kind of a process for the communications in our minutes. Thank you. It's my pleasure now to move on to the report of the Director of Special Services, Dr. Laura Frederickson.
Thank you. Actually, before Superintendent Gronseth left, he gave me some notes just to say what's going on in the district right now. And I'm happy to announce we have wonderful things happening in our school district. In our high schools, we still have students earning credits through the seat-based classes and also independent study. Elementary, we have students participating in the Excel program, working on academics, and that is funded by MD. Community education is offering enrichment classes for all ages, going from computer basics, cooking, to music, and many others. Also, when we look at our community, the great outdoors in Duluth being voted the #1 outside city in the U.S., gives all of our students and families opportunities to just enjoy the great outdoors. We also have programs at the public library, and we are strongly advocating that parents and families continue to go out and read and take part in those activities. In conjunction with the people we honor today, our schools also offer free breakfast from 8 to 10:30 and free lunch from 11:30 to 1 p.m. And there are no forms to fill out, and it's for all children up to age 18. And you can participate for those meals at Lester Park Elementary, Lowell Elementary, Myers-Wilkins Elementary, Piedmont Elementary, Stowe Elementary, and Denfeld High School, and also Laura MacArthur Elementary. Bag lunches are available at Lincoln Park at the Boys and Girls Club. In speaking with some of our early childhood special education staff this morning, they're sharing that information. They're going into the homes for the children that we support from age birth to 5. So it's something that our teachers appreciate, and our community people are fortunate to have that opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We now move on to our Education Committee report. Oh, I'm sorry. Member Welty.
Thank you, Dr. Frederickson. I would like to add that this afternoon, my wife and daughter and my 2 grandsons went to the public library and were entertained by a juggler, clown, and the boys came back wowed by what they saw. And I was told by my wife that somehow the Duluth Public Schools has something to do with the presentations at the library. So we're doing good work. Thank you.
Do you want to comment on it? Or? Okay, thank you, Member Welty. We now move on to our education report. Member Harla.
Thank you very much, Chair Murphy. When we look at informational items, the school improvement efforts at Laura MacArthur were tabled due to conflict with the presenter, so it was tabled until next month. Our next piece that we talked about, actually that night we had our agenda moved around quite a bit, so if you have notes in certain orders, I'm actually just going to go in order of our of what we have here. We had an overview of our secondary school's administrative structure, and it's recommended that the school board receive this item as informational. And Assistant Superintendent Crawford gave a full rundown of what the administration will look like at Denfeld East, Lincoln Park Middle School, and Ordine East High School. We had a lot of conversations about the positions that will be in place for administration, and knowing that some additional pieces that were placed some of the different positions within the schools will help within the burden of some classroom discipline issues and some other pieces. So I know it's included in your notes, members, and so there was that update for the secondary schools administrative structure. The third is, item 3 was the 2013-2014 Head Start program child count. That was tabled until next month when Pam Reese is able to join us then. So the next piece that we'll go onto is action items. We had a really long discussion about the social studies curriculum that we had actually a number of teachers that were looking at curriculum for each of our subject areas, and they spent a significant amount of time and gave a really great presentation on kind of overviewing our curriculum. So looking at the K-5 social studies adoption, it's really built for diverse learners. Some of the highlights that I really appreciated was that it's at grade reading level. In fact, some of the past iterations weren't at a reading level for our students to understand, and the teachers were able to really look through that and really feel that it's going to be something that is really beneficial. Another piece that I like is that it's not about teaching, it's about teaching, but it's also reflecting, having the students' personal reflection skills. Remember, one of the questions she asked, or she highlighted from the book, was that a student having to reflect on different types of social services that are in their community. I don't know what the lesson was on, but knowing that students are understanding the framework of a community and then understanding what serves them, I was glad to see that we'll have that. So the total cost of the adoption for that was $238,381.92, and I was just really impressed by Susan Schmidt, the social studies curriculum coach. So I just passed that along as a big thank you for all the work that they did. And there was many number of teachers that spent just a little over 2 weeks after their school year ended really going through this. So that was the K-5. When we looked at our 7-8 curriculum, they presented two additional books for those two classes too, and these are all in line with the state standards that have been recently updated. The next piece that they did talk about with us was making sure that our 9th grade curriculum was in line, and there's actually a large update to what our 9th grade curriculum is going to look like within the social studies unit. I think it covers civics, but also has a piece of the world's best workforce, where students are going to need to look at some ideas for a career for the future, and it's a part of making sure that we're a part of state standards, but also that we're preparing students for making and starting to think about options for the rest of their life a little bit earlier. So glad to know that, and glad to know that it's kind of geared around students finding things and connecting with them to have a spark. So glad to know that. That was our 9th grade. Looking at, and then 10th and 12th grade would stay similarly, because it's very much history-based, and so at a time when our books are, they decided to take the back seat so that the 11th graders could have an update to their world problems work or contemporary studies. So really glad to know that, and again, a large thank you to those to the teachers that took part in that. There was a lot of discussion on that. So the second, grade 7 and 8 was $122,048.64. So that was the social studies curriculum, and I'd say that we had a very about an hour-long discussion on that. Really great discussion within our group. The next piece was access to internet student data for non-district employees, and it was recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the annual data sharing agreements for the 2014-2015 school year with the Duluth Area Family YMCA and the University of Minnesota Duluth. Again, these are long-standing relationships that we've had in the district, and we have a lot of different data privacy things that are put in place, just to make measures that are put in place to make sure that student data is safe and secure. And this is a way that we're able to continue supporting students, not only in the classroom, but the organizations like the Duluth YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. When we see these come across, it's agencies that are coming around the students that maybe aren't within the traditional school day that can really continue to support our students cradle to career. The next piece is Policy 5085. So it's recommended that Duluth School Board accept and approve Policy 5085. Chair, would you like me to come back to that, or? Okay.
No, just go all the way through.
Thank you. The next piece was new Policy 5084, Bullying Prohibition Policy. So, and it was recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the new Policy 5084. So there's a with the Safe and Supportive Schools Act, there's a mandate, and I'm glad to know, first of all, that legislation passed. It's something that we can continue to keep our schools a safe place for our students. When we take a look at this bullying policy, we do need to have a bullying policy set and updated by the beginning of this school year of September 2014. That being said, the legislation put money in place and things in place to make sure that the office within the Minnesota Department of Education that will oversee this, the money was set in place in spring. It hasn't been set up yet. So it was recommended to us, so a group of community members came together, community members, people, administrators, school, some students, school staff came together and took a look at a model policy that the Minnesota School Board Association put forward as a placeholder. And so we're looking to pass this as a placeholder and a framework to begin discussion about how we can comprehensively cover bullying within our district. So it's our response to do that. It's building the framework and making sure that we're compliant with state standards, and then working with this group and with other community members. This group is going to continue, and other people will continue to be identified to help move forward in this, and that is the piece for the bullying prohibition policy of the first reading. And the next piece were diploma requests, Donald Allen Rankin, June 5th. So it's recommended that Duluth School Board accept and approve the above diploma request for Donald Allen Rankin on June 5th, 2014. And then graduates. We received all of the graduates that graduated in June. And again, a large congratulations to them. Just wonderful to see that we have students continuing to learn and grow, and glad to see we had a lot of graduates. And in the same vein, we continue to talk about the students that did graduate. We need to keep talking about the ones that aren't, and moving toward action for that in a similar way. So, Chair, I move this report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Loeffler Kemp. I want to thank you for your enthusiasm in your research in this. You do a great job. I'd like to introduce Dr. Mike Carey to our family. Mike, thanks for coming out, and Dr. Tanya Lake. They're here to answer any questions we might have. I was very excited about the curriculum, and I know this is just a regular thing we build in our class every year for updating curriculum. When I went to school in the Duluth district, my textbook, geography textbook, talked about Middle Earth, and now as you look at books, I mentioned this before, it's just such a rapidly changing world. I mean, you just look at the Crimean Peninsula, and it's been controlled by so many different countries, and now it's under the control of Russia, when it had been under the control of Ukraine. This program is going to allow just immediate updates for the kids, so they will be almost instantaneously updated on any world changes. Would any of you like to comment on this? Hit that button. Yep. There we go.
Obviously.
Okay, wait 1 second. Turn that off, turn that on. Bingo.
Okay. Obviously, first off, I want to say thank you for the welcome and introduction. I'm very excited to be back in Duluth and happy to be a part of the district. I see my role, or a portion of my role, being to make sure that as a district we're constantly reviewing our curriculum and that we're making sure we're putting a strong focus on the materials we're utilizing so that we do give our teachers the best materials that they can have to make sure that our students are getting the best education we can provide. As you said, we have budget limitations or budget amounts that we have to work within. So one of my first goals is to work towards making sure that we establish a process so that we are continually revisiting and revising and reviewing those things and able to keep up with those changes within the budget that we have allocated. We are excited. I want to say thank you to Susan Schmidt for the work that she did leading the social studies group. She was able to sit down with me the other day and provide me a very quick update with what they plan to do, and I think they did excellent work in selecting the materials that they did so that moving forward we have great resources in place for our kids.
Thank you, Doctor. Member Welty.
Yes, I think I did this at the meeting, Dr. Carey, but welcome to the district. You've come at an excellent time because we are aligning the heck out of our curriculum and we're getting lots of textbooks. For those of you watching the meeting on television or here, we spent, must have been 3 hours at this meeting. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm kind of fatigued from a long day already, and it is summer, and I don't want to prolong the meeting, but I have to say that one of the things that sounded most exciting with that presentation about the school books was hearing about the Google Chrome books, sort of like Kindles for those people who aren't quite sure what those are, but even though we don't have one for every child, the fact that we've got classroom copies are going to put some of our kids kind of in that next century that we keep talking about putting them in. So, good work. Enjoy the summer. Can't wait to see how all this pans out when the students come back to class in the fall.
Thank you, Member Welty. Member Lafleur-Kemp.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple comments too. Thank you again, Member Harla, for a very thorough report. And again, welcome, Dr. Carey. I wanted to just mention around the textbooks that in the update that Member Harla did, that fits in with our goals that we as a district have. And it also fits in with the funding, some of the funding we receive from our referendum dollars. And I just want to make sure the public is tied to that decision that we as a board have made. The other thing I just wanted to note, again for the public, on page 6, it talks about teacher evaluation, and just review that. These are the teacher evaluation that's required, Minnesota requirements, but that was a part of the update that we had as well on the administrative structure, and just wanted to make note of that. And then the last thing, I too am very excited about the bullying policy and the safe and welcoming school bill that was passed. And I just want also the public to know we had a lot of students from our school district, from schools across Duluth, that were very active in working on that state bill. And we should be very proud of the students of Duluth for being involved in that advocacy effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Lafleur-Kemp. Member Johnston.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about 2D. I don't know if we're pulling that out, or should I just go ahead? We seem to be kind of just talking, or I do have a specific issue on 2D, which is a bullying policy.
Yeah, well, what we're going to do is we're going to vote on this as a whole, so if you want to pull something out, that's fine.
2D, which is a bullying policy.
Okay, there. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this is a real important policy. I know a lot of things that people don't seem to relate this to, and maybe they do, is that bullying contributes to truancy. I get a lot of calls from parents and students that say they don't feel welcome. When they get bullied, they don't want to come to school. That leads to a truancy problem, particularly for the less advantaged kids. So I think it's important to look at that. It doesn't specifically mention this leading to truancy, but it is an important thing. I do have one issue that I could hold off on this. I would maybe ask the chair here. I would like to add a section to this policy. I could mention it now, or else I could hold it for the committee meeting, because I think there's an important issue that I would like to have added to this.
I guess there's two routes we can take. You can propose an amendment now, or we could just pass this policy 5084 and then discuss it in education next month and whatever changes you want to make.
Well, I just read out what I've got. I won't put it as a motion, but just assume that we will talk about it when we come back. How would that sound?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, I would like to add an addition on, which is actually on page 37 under Section 5, Duluth School District Action. I will be putting this as a motion here next month, maybe tonight if anybody wants. I'm going to add paragraph DE to that, which is after D, of course. And this would say, and I'm open to some changes if anybody has suggestions, was, a report will be given to the school board at the June regular meeting, where a summary will be given of the number of bullying complaints, types of complaints, and the action to resolve the complaints that were taken. This will be done without releasing any case-specific information or personnel data. And why this is important is it's really easy to have policies. It's a good policy, but I want to make sure that this policy is enforced, that we have a school board actually make sure that when bullying happens, that it is being reported, that it's being resolved. So that's what I would like to put, and I can hold that off on that. I'd kind of open it up to the rest of the board to see what they think here right now.
Okay, I think that's a worthy thing, a worthy addition. We'd need to firm up some of the wording on it, and so we could pass this resolution as is and then amend it in August. Member Welty. What? I'm sorry? It's only the first reading, so you do have an opportunity to change it. Right. Yeah, that is the first reading, and I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so we have a second reading coming up in August, and I apologize for not noticing that. Member Welty, I'm sorry.
So we could change this at the second reading
We can
as well.
amend it then, yes.
Okay. I think that's an excellent idea. I can imagine there being some questions about how you categorize different bullying instances for the sake of the record keeping, and I'm sure the administration would want to have a chance to kind of think that through. But I think that's a very worthy idea. Seems like we live in a world now where people are trying to keep close track of this, and whenever we add an addition, whatever the wording, I think that will make a great deal of sense.
Thank you, Member Welty. Member Westholm. Oh, yeah, just hit the button, and what have you done? Okay. You shouldn't have hit the button. Let me see. Just wait. All right. Art, who's next? Yeah, would you turn yours off for a second? There, it's off. Now, Member Westholm, hit your button on, and we'll go back in line again. So, okay. Member Westholm.
Yeah, I just had a chance. I was going to ask for some copies of what Member Johnston is proposing, because there seemed to be a lot of good things to what he was saying. And he just passed a copy to Member Murneke, which I presume we'll all get copies of, and certainly some good discussion may come of that. So, I would support looking at proposing this addition to the policy we have.
Thank you, Member Westholm. Member Harla.
I just wanted to second what folks have said and that Member Johnston, I think that's great. The only thing I would change is maybe July, since we have a couple of days in June for school, just to see that if it, do we want to, my question is, do we wrap it up with the school year, or, because the board meeting is, so the data from June would need to be compiled before school is done. So I just want to make sure that if we were to want to get a whole picture of a school year.
Again, that's something we can discuss then in the August meeting, because it'll be the second reading.
Great, thank you.
Member Johnston.
Sure, I was going to say, yeah, I've got no problem with any of that kind of stuff. And I was going to say that I did pass on the language there to the chair. You already mentioned that, and I can certainly send it out email as well. People can get out their word processor and their strike out and underline and do what you want with it here, but appreciate the board's consideration on that. I think it's an important addition.
Okay. Oh. Member Lafleur-Kemp.
I'll put this in writing for discussion, but I do believe that there are some legalities, and so it'll be important that as we have this discussion that we understand that in terms of this law, as well as that the community committee is that we time it so there's input for the community committee to be involved as well. I guess I just add those two comments. So we don't
Thank you.
Something.
Thank you. Dr. Carey.
I was just asked, since I have a microphone, to pass this on to all of you, but we will pass on that language as well to Mr. Crawford and Mr. Lake, our climate coordinator, for an opportunity to review that and provide some feedback for consideration for the next board meeting.
Thank you. Member Harla.
And I want to continue this discussion. Also remember, just to community members, that this is the framework of of what the comprehensive policy will look like, because we really want this to be more of a community process for what the comprehensive bullying policy looks like. So I'm glad that this is added when we have the framework, so that it's part of that bigger community's discussion. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Education Committee report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Thank you. We now move on to our Human Resources Committee report. Member Welty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm getting rather full of myself the last few months. The HR committee meetings, which I remember from my first tenure on the school board 20 years ago, were frequently 15 minutes long, and I thought that they would be set to be 15 minutes long again, but lately they've been an hour and a half long. So I'm hoping that we can breeze through this a lot more quickly. We have the staffing report action items. They include certified appointments, a total of 4. Certified co-curricular, there are 18. Certified extensions, there are 81 of those. Certified, that is also ties in, I think, with the summer school. Certified leaves, total of 3. Certified long-term substitutes, there was 1. A certified permanent increase, a total of 2. Certified resignation, 1. Certified retirement, total of 4. Certified summer school, that was a total of 55. Certified temporary decrease, total of 1. Non-certified appointment, 6. Non-certified demotion, 4. Non-certified extension, 7. Non-certified layoffs, 11. Non-certified leaves, 9. Non-certified permanent decreases, there were 3 of those. Non-certified permanent increases, there were 5 of those. Non-certified promotions, 2. Non-certified recalls, 3. Non-certified resignations, 3. Non-certified retirements, 2. Non-certified summer school, total of 28. Non-certified temporary increase, a total of 1. Those were the changes in the staffing report items. Other items, we have a new rate for hourly substitute pay that we are considering. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that a lot of this is mandated by a change in the state law for a minimum wage increase. In addition to that, we also have a policy change to policy 4015, prohibiting harassment and violence. This is a first reading. It's about a one-page policy change. In addition to that, at our meeting, we had about a 40-minute explanation, introduction to the new caretaker of the Duluth Teachers Retirement Fund Association. I can't recall her name. Karen
Gill.
Yeah, anyway, she was very, very knowledgeable. She came from the Minneapolis Fund originally and gave us a lot of background information going back to, I think, explaining how it was when they first set up the fund for the teachers of Duluth 90 years ago, when they mostly were women and were single and retired in penury. So we got that update. Let's see. No future items, and I don't know that there are any communications to the school board, but
That was our
were the-
discussion that we were
yeah,
going to have.
Right, all right. So those were the items that we covered at our meeting in an hour and a half. Let's see if we can be quick tonight.
And you're moving that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, unless anybody wants to pull something.
Okay.
Unless someone wants to pull something?
No, we move it we and then we'll second it, and then we...
All right, then I move that we adopt the Human Resources Report for Tuesday, July 15th, 2014.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Oh, Member Johnson seconded it. Okay, all right. And now Member Johnson, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Human Resources Committee. Member Johnston.
I'd like to pull out 2B.
2B. Okay.
Or not 2B.
Took the words out of
Member
my mouth.
Lafleur-Kemp? Whoops, hold it.
It's after this, so.
Okay. Member Saliga-Punko.
Thank you. I just have to ask, and Tim, you would know, do we need to vote on these items separately? Like the change in rates and the policy change, we don't have to, we can just vote on it all. Okay, I just wanted to check.
You can take it as a group or do them individually.
Just wanted to check things.
All right, thank you. Member Johnston.
Can I pull out 2A, too? I wanted just to
I'm
say,
sorry?
Can I pull out 2A, 2, just
Okay.
like to...
Let's start with 2A then.
Okay.
You have the mic.
Okay. Again, I think, just a question, how many of these are covered with a collective bargaining unit?
Member, just hit the button. There you go. Up. And there you are.
These positions are hourly positions, substitute positions, so they generally will not work enough hours to be covered in a bargaining unit.
Member Johnston.
Okay, is this the one, I know we've had discussion on this, that there hasn't, up to now, there hasn't been much of a pay raise, they haven't got a pay raise like most of the other staff had. Am I correct in remembering that?
This is the report that we've been talking about, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to say is one of the things I was always concerned about is some of our lowest paid people are certainly hadn't got a pay raise for so long, so I certainly endorse this pay raise. It's still very minimal, but I certainly appreciate us moving forward on this. I wish we went ahead to wait till the state passed the law. I wish we would have done it ourselves, but nonetheless, it's, for the small amount of employees and hours they get, it's going to be a very small thing, but they'll certainly be well appreciated for the little extra they get.
I'd like to add that being in the school district as long as I have been, we've had just some invaluable people who have donated a lot of their time and effort to helping us out and oftentimes working many more hours than they get paid for. Mr. Swirsky, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just, again, this is a graduated pay rate, so for next year where you see this $8 minimum wage, next August it will be going to $9 an hour. And really what that's going to do to this whole schedule, it causes what we call compression. So we're going to have to go in individually and look at all these other wages that have been differentiated between the 8 and the 9s and the 10s and expand those. So I think in your memo you received from Bill Hansen, it explained the anticipated increase in that cost for next year.
Thank you. Member Johnston, 2B.
Can I go not to be first?
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles. You have the mic.
Oh, boy, you're good. Okay, I'm going to put the same thing on this one as I did on the other one, and I'll read it, and I'll just pass this on to the chair again here, too. And we can talk about this again like we did in another committee, since this is just the first reading, I believe, right?
Oh.
On this one, if I recall. First reading, okay. And again, I had the same thing, I'll just read it to you here so people can kind of get a gist of what I'm talking about. And it would just be to amend policy 4015 by adding a paragraph at the end. The report will be given to the school board at the June meeting or July, whichever we want to go. where a summary will be given to the number of harassment complaints, types of complaints, and the action taken to resolve the complaint. This will be done without releasing any case-specific information or personal data. I'm going to add one other thing to this. I'm going to throw out on this one because this can involve the staff as well, is that I took this language right out of the 4015R, but I think it's important to put it in the policy. And it reads, either party involved in the report who is dissatisfied with the investigation or resolution of an allegation of harassment or violence may appeal in writing to the school board within 10 days, I'll probably change that to 30, of receiving the written notice of the appeal process and policy 4015R. When deemed necessary by the chair, such appeal will be held in a closed session. So that's added a paragraph in there. Just wanted to throw it out to the board that, again, if the chair is okay with that, I won't make a formal motion, but we could talk about it next month.
Ms. Thibault and Ms. Tallarico, you can make sure, you'll pick these up at the end and make sure we get copies of those so we'll have them ready for August. Thank you very much. Member Loeffler-Kemp.
On that comment of the harassment, I guess I'd ask Mr. Swirsky to also, when we talk about this, to clarify the avenues that staff have through their union and through other sources around harassment as well. That would be helpful for the complete discussion. Thank you.
Mr. Swirsky, you're okay. Member Johnson.
I was going to say, I can send that digital too off to the board so people don't have to retype it. Not that it's a big deal, but save somebody a little bit of work.
Okay, good. It's been moved by Member Welty and seconded by Member Johnston to approve the HR Committee's report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay? Thank you. That concludes our HR report. Thank you, Member Welty. We now move on to our Business Committee report. Member Loeffler-Kemp. Want to hit your button?
Thank you. Well, before I jump into the Business Committee report, one of our speakers talked about working in the best interest of children, and I found my time on the school board here that we do that in so many ways, and as a school board and as a school. And like the other committee reports, last week we had a lengthy business committee discussion, and I think that's partly because we have a lot of school board members asking a lot of questions. So I just highlight that so people know that lots of questions are happening, lots of reports, and I think there's a lot of thought by all of us thinking about every decision we make being in the best interest of all children. In terms of the Business Committee report, the first item, financial report on page 3, usual reports, budget revisions on page 28, wire transfers on page 30, investment transactions 31, fundraisers on 32. Number 2, there were no bids, RFPs, and quote reports. Number 3, policies and regulations. Policy 3040 on page 33. It is recommended that the Duluth School Board review and approve changes to policy 3040 for the first reading, and this has to do with gifts, grants, and bequests. And then number 4, contract change orders and leases. Number 1, contracts, University of Minnesota Duluth on page 35, and it's recommended that the Duluth School Board approve the agreement with the University of Minnesota Duluth. And number 2, on page 39, workers' compensation and property liability insurance policies and premiums designation. And we had a really great presentation from Bob St. Arnold on liability and on insurance, and really appreciated his recommendations, his written information, as well as answering many questions that many of us had. It's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept the recommended policies as listed on the attached schedule. This would go into effect August 1st. In addition, the board authorizes the Director of Business Services to purchase up to $35,000 of additional coverage for cyber liability and umbrella liability consistent with the coverage limits and cost estimates discussed at the committee meeting. And then on to number 5, resolutions. And Chair, would you like me to read these at this point, or?
Let's do this one at a time. We'll start with the 3186.
Okay, and that's on page 40. Sorry, I have it marked. Okay, and it's B7143196, resolution, authorized student activity bank account signer, resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that it hereby authorizes the following: Piedmont, DTCU, Jody Keller, authorized signer. I move this resolution. Thank you.
Seconded by Member Harla. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That passes 7-0.
Okay.
3197, please.
Number B, resolution B7143197 on page 41. Resolution, acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools, whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the donations in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth here within. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation to these various organizations. Should I read them all, or can I just highlight?
I think you can, we're fine. Just
okay. So there's a list of donations that go across the district. So I move.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Member Westholm. Discussion. I'd like to discuss. One of the things that Member Lafferkemp mentioned was the liability insurance, and it'd be interesting to go back and see some of the guys who worked here, some of the people who worked here 25 years ago, and you go over the new possible lawsuits that the school district can entertain. It's scary what we have to watch out for now, and now there's this other one now is the acceptance of donations. This is another thing. The state has said this is how you have to do it from now on, and it's going to add a little bit to our time, and apologize for that. But I've always said we really have a wonderful city here. And I'm involved in a Whiteside committee, and I'm just astounded by the number of groups and organizations, associations that donate money across the district to so many levels of our kids. And we do have a wonderful, wonderful city, and we can't express enough our appreciation for all the donations.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Resolution 3197. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Resolution 3198, please.
Okay, on page 42, B7143198, I move that resolution determining the status of school board members for purposes of the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. Whereas the Minnesota Court of Appeals and the Minnesota Department of Administration have held that the classification of data on elected officials depends upon whether the entity considers its elected officials to be employees for purposes of the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. Whereas most data on individual employees of a school district are classified as personnel data pursuant to the MGDPA and specifically Minnesota Statute Section 13.43. Whereas the school board has weighed various political, educational, and public accountability considerations in deciding whether its members should be considered to be employees for purposes of the MGDPA. And whereas the school board has determined that the public interest in transparency outweighs any competing privacy interest that individual board members may have in regard to most data that the district maintains about individual board members. Now therefore be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709 Duluth as follows. 1. Members of the school board are not employees for purposes of the MGDPA, Minnesota Statutes, Chapter 13. Accordingly, data that the district maintains on school board members are not subject to Minnesota Statutes, Section 13.43. 2, this resolution does not impact the determination of whether school board members are employees for purposes of other laws, including but not limited to any federal or state tax laws. And 3, this resolution does not alter the classification of protected data on elected officials, such as Social Security numbers, health data, or medical data, which are not subject to disclosure. Again, I move.
Is there a second? Second by Member Westall. Discussion. Member Welty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those who may not know what this refers to, essentially this is a policy change that was written up to deal with a current situation where one of the school board members is being investigated. That process is continuing. I spent 2 hours today talking to a very nice attorney, Mary Rice, giving her what information I could about the information that relates to this investigation. I read this first some time ago and thought this made a great deal of sense. I guess the line in it that I am counting on with regard to the investigation as it proceeds is the one that says that the public interest in transparency outweighs any competing privacy interest. At this point, I am been kept out of the loop, as near as I can tell, about various information that has been brought to the district's view, and I am counting on this resolution, and I'm counting on this investigation to eventually be publicized so that we can be certain what the allegations have been, because at this point the individual being investigated is having to live with a dark cloud being circulated by the press and the news media, because a lot of unpleasant sounding things have been alleged. So I am hoping that after my 2-hour interview by the attorney, which is being duplicated by a number of other people, this will in fact yield to and lead to a full accounting of the allegations that have been made against this employee, because I think the public deserves to know what has been discussed in private rather than allow that little cloud to remain. So I'm very much in favor of this resolution and policy change.
Thank you. Member Johnston.
Thank you, Member Welty, for referencing some of this. I think we all know what this is for. At first I was a little bit confused about this. I asked during the committee meeting what the point of this was. What concerned me is not the motion, but that nobody on the board could answer what it was. This was written by a lawyer. Nobody seemed to know why they wrote it. Nobody seemed to know what the ramification was if we didn't have it. And so it concerns me that when we had all the administrators in the school sitting around there, nobody even say what the point of it was. Concerned me that what other things going on in the school are also not being addressed. I don't know how much we spent on this to have Kevin Rupp go and make this, but I do want to point out that down in Farmington, Minnesota, they had a similar case. Same lawyer, of course, same law firm and everything, was going after one of their board members. And they passed a resolution that was kind of similar to this, except for a very important thing. That resolution in Farmington said that all the board members were employees. So here we are, we've got now our lawyer, which is the same lawyer, is now telling us that they're all public employees. I really don't care what we are because I've told my side of the story and will continue to do that even though nobody else is saying anything at all. So here the lawyer in one school district, he says one thing, and now our school district, he says another. And of course, if we were considered employees, I would of course waive my right to privacy and tell the truth, which I have already. But I think that this brings up that, as I think one of the speakers alluded to or mentioned, that why do we even have a lawyer involved in this? They're giving opposite advice to different school districts in the country. I'm assuming making about $300 an hour. And I think in most investigations when we have, they have investigators either internally, in this case probably neighboring districts, would go and not pay $300 an hour but pay a staff to do that. And I think it was a little bit concerned. Did want to say, if Member Welty, there is not a dark cloud over me. Luckily, I've had an enormous amount of outpouring of sympathy, and there's kind of in every dark cloud there is a silver lining, and this of course is. Again, the hypocrisy of the board, they could have went and said what happened, but no, they tell other people, oh yeah, these things happened, well this is really bad. Everybody except 2 board members seem to know about it, and it's been pretty irritating at best. And everybody seems to know about this except me and, again, Member Welty. So, again, I'm going to support this, of course, but somewhat weakly because this is not even necessary. In fact, I am going to give again a copy to the board. I've mentioned, I'll read it to you first, I've already asked who was a staff member but did said racial comments, who heard the comments.
I have to, point of order for a second is, we have to stick to the resolution we're talking about right now.
Exactly, I'm giving you this, I expect this to be answered immediately. And part of that resolution is who said these things and what did they say and when did they say and who was the witnesses. I expect after this gets passed that these answers will be done immediately. I sent that to you, I think, 2 months ago. Haven't got an answer yet, so I expect now that we're passing this, I expect to get an answer immediately.
Thank you. I'm going to call a question on this. Is there a second to call the question? It's been seconded. It's non-debatable. By calling the question, we can go immediately to the resolution. All in favor of calling the question, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I hear 7-0. The resolution, all in favor of 3198, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I hear 7-0. Thank you. Member Loeffler-Kemp. Hit your button. You got to hit your button.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go.
I just did want to add that this resolution came about because questions were asked, and that's... Okay.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah.
Okay, I will go on.
Let's move on to 6, please.
Okay, informational items, expenditure contracts on page 43. And I do want to highlight, when you look through that list, some of the expenditures do involve teacher training, which again is some of our goals as a school district. And then on page, B, revenue contracts, there were none. C, other contracts, none. And then D, facilities management and capital project status report on page 117. And then quarterly grants and donations on page 123.
You want to move the whole report then?
I move the whole report.
Is there a second? Second by Member Harla. Discussion. Member Johnson. I'm sorry? Did I miss something? I'm sorry. Member Johnson.
I'd like to pull out 4A2.
4A2. Member Loeffler-Kemp?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Member Johnson, 4A2. If you want to hit your button, there you go.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. Got a lot of very robust discussion on this, and I'm going to pass on some of the stuff so the public can know about that. It was reported in the Duluth paper that I was probably, or what? 4A2, which is page 39, which is this discussion on the workman's compensation and proper liability insurance policy, which is an umbrella policy that we talked about. And during that discussion, the paper erroneously said that I was bringing a countersuit against the school. That isn't what I said. Well, I did ask a very interesting question to the insurance broker that was there. I asked, does this policy indemnify school board members as well? And he said, most certainly there's some question over if there's a monetary value involved or not. So the question came up, of course, is that I can submit my attorney bills, which are getting quite extensive here now over what the board has done to me and board members have done to me and the superintendent. So what the opinion was is that our insurance company may very well pay my insurance attorney bills as well as, of course, we're paying the schools. I thought that's kind of a silly thing to do, and I'm sure this board, of course, could vote to not specifically to pay me my attorney bill, but again, that's something that my attorney will be submitting. And also, another interesting comment is that they no longer are handling in the future. I don't know if this applies for this particular case, but it no longer applies to situations when the board is being sued by, say, irate people unless there happens to be a monetary value. Why? Because the boards are being sued so much and that they can't afford this kind of coverage anymore. Also, another thing was brought up is that every time there is a lawsuit, in this case, a big one that's going on that this board has instigated, and not a lawsuit, but certainly if they continue on, it will be. That puts our insurance policy up, even if the insurance covers some of these, which we don't quite know yet. That's adding, not only are we paying the insurance bills, we're paying legal bills, we're paying higher insurance bills as well. So this is not cheap. What this board has done has not been for the benefit of the children, as many of the speakers indicated. And here's a question for maybe if anybody knows, how much is Kevin Rupp being paid and how much is Mary Rice, the investigator, being paid?
Thank you, Member Johnson.
There's a question.
No answer.
So nobody knows how much these attorneys are being paid.
But we don't have to answer the...
Well, I'm asking, if nobody can answer, I'm assuming that means nobody knows.
We have a lot of people absent today.
Well, there's a lot of high-up people here that should know how much attorneys are being paid. Apparently they don't, and other board members are sitting there and kind of laughing as I say this, so they must know, but of course they're not saying it again. Anyway, it was reported that Mary Rice is getting paid $210 an hour, assuming Rupp is about $300 an hour. Mary Rice's trip up here is going to probably cost the school district, or maybe our insurance, about $10,000. When we pass these kind of things, that is exactly what we're doing, is that our rates have went up extensively. The school district is lawyer happy. They have had so many lawyer bills, I'll be asking a Data Practices Act request to ask what our attorney bills are on this, and we'll find out it's extremely high. So instead of using things like civility, they use lawyers to solve their problem, the exact opposite of what civility should be doing.
Member Welty.
I would be curious to know the information about the attorney's fees too, and I realize that we probably don't have anybody who has that information with us now, but hopefully that can be provided to us forthwith when everyone returns.
Thank you, Member Harlan.
I just, one piece wanted to highlight that a question that we were talking about during this discussion was what inland marine is. If folks are wondering if we're investing in large boats or for the water, I don't know. If, my grandpa used to have a car that would go onto the water. Not the case for this. It actually goes for equipment like lawnmowers, plows, data processing, laptops, smartboards. So there's an increase in that, but it's because it's covered within inland marine.
Thank you. Member Johnston.
Well, actually, I wanted to say one more thing just to give the board and maybe the media in town a heads up. Next week in the newspaper up in Tower, Minnesota, the Timber J, they're doing an expose on their lawyer costs up there. And I would suggest people read that here in the administration because it's absolutely outrageous what school districts pay lawyers.
Thank you. Member Later. Superintendent Later.
Chair Murphy, members of the board, I just want to make sure I'm providing some clarification in the action that the board has taken in reference to the Director of Business Services purchase up to $35,000 of additional coverage. I want to make sure the board is clear that that is additional premium towards additional coverage. We've talked about our umbrella insurance, and there was going to be some additional research and information sought out by administration. I can let you know that our intent at this time is to purchase a $2 million umbrella policy, and that was an additional $8,000. And then we're still waiting for information from RJF regarding the cyber liability. But as Bob St. Arnold indicated, it's more likely that we're going to need to have something in the range of $1 million of coverage for cyber liability. Think in terms of the target liability for information that was lost. That's the type of insurance that we're still waiting for that premium. But we believe it's all going to be within that $35,000 or less.
Thank you. Member Harla.
I meant to pull the facilities management capital project status report.
Which one is that? What number?
The very last one.
I'm last. Which
okay, it's
what do you?
It's on page 117.
Yeah, page 117.
60.
It's 6D.
Oh, 6D. I'm close. 16. H. Okay, we'll go back to that. Go ahead, and Member Harlan.
I noticed that it talked about the extra furniture from Nettleton and items in storage trailers were consolidated or being stored at Central High School. And just in connection to that, want to say that I know that that building may not be of use at some point in time, and a large thank you to the City of Duluth for passing some of the rezoning for that property. So just wondering where additional things are stored within the district when that property.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the business.
I was asking the question.
Oh, that was a question.
So it was like a thanks, but also wondering, you know, where additional things are stored, Mr. Leiter.
I apologize, I didn't hear the question. Carrie, yep, got it. Carrie, hit that button again. All right, one more time. Why isn't it working? All right, wait 1 second. Should work. There you go.
There you go. Chair Murphy, Member Harlan, members of the board, I would share with you that our intent is to coordinate an auction, most likely this fall, of items that have been brought to the Central High School location where they have been stored, and we have for a number of years now been moving items out to schools as we've identified their need, but we're getting to a point where it's really excess material, and the intent would be to have an auction sale, as well as some items that we believe there's higher value going to be gained by putting online in an auction process, public auction site that's available, where we've sold a couple of items and have realized a lot more than what we've realized at the public auction. So that's the intent, and at that point, most of those excess items should be gone from that site.
Thank you, Mr. Leiter. Member Westholm.
Yeah, I'm not going to add anything to what Member Johnston talked about attorney's fees, but as former attorney, I'm fairly familiar with how things are charged out, and I guess I could say that none of us right now, because we don't get weekly reports on how much has been charged, and I'm not sure if anybody gets weekly reports on what attorney's fees are, but certainly the superintendent or Bill Hansen can ask the question. I guess it is a fair question, but nobody up here would know, and I guess it would be hard to get us information instantly on that kind of question. So it's not that easy to get. Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Swirsky?
I just want to remind the board, when this was initiated, they did ask for monthly reports to get. We've not been invoiced yet, but as those reports come in, we will be reporting that to the board.
Thank you. Member Johnston?
Sure, I was also asking about Kevin Rupp's wages, not just Mary Rice's and her law firm.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was also asking about Kevin Rupp, who's the lawyer for the school district on this. I'd also like to know what his wages are, and I'll be putting Data Practices Act requests to see how much money he's made, and so I can go and inspect those records to see if we've done as good as the St. Louis County Schools have done on managing our lawyer fees. I did have a question on the facilities management capital project as well. Getting back to that. The question, the fourth from the bottom, we've been working with DSG, W, and Bossard to find a solution on the loading dock at Myers-Wilkins. And I'm just wondering, it says it's done. Was that made out of long-range facility planning money, or was that, where did that come from?
Chair Merneke, members of the board, Member Johnston, there were a couple of issues associated with loading docks, one at Myers-Wilkins and one at Lincoln Park Middle School, where the height of the dock was not correct. It was determined that in both cases it was a responsibility of our designers and or contractors, and the cost to correct those conditions at both sites was borne by those firms or contractors. It was not a school district. We paid for the loading docks originally, and we didn't pay for the correction of them.
Okay. Member Johnston.
Thank you. That's good to hear. What happened to the Denfeld loading dock? I thought we also had an issue on that. Was that resolved?
Hit the button. There you go.
Member Johnson, I'm not aware that there was anything with the Denfeld loading dock. What we have at Denfeld is a lift that raises up to loading dock height and then lowers back down. It's not, and I'm not aware of any issues there that I can recall.
Maybe Chair Merneke, when we took the tour here a couple of years ago, it was something with the loading dock. I don't remember what it was, but I'll look up my notes on that, but hopefully maybe that was fixed too.
Yeah, nothing's been brought to my attention lately that there's an ongoing problem. So.
Can you give us an update on the Lincoln Park Middle School, the truss replacement up there? I haven't heard much. Every once in a while I get a call from people saying, oh my God, the school's falling down. I say, no, it's not. But could you reassure us again and tell us a little bit what's happened on maybe a little bit of the legal aspect of that as well?
Yep. Chair Murphy, members of the board, the Lincoln Park Middle School had a manufacturer error in the truss that was not capable of supporting the safety factor. No immediate hazard was identified, but long-term snow load, obviously we had a significant snow this winter, and we had some deflection in the trusses. The manufacturer and the engineers have reviewed them, have identified fixes. They started work on that repair this week, and we expect them to be complete by the middle of August when school activities resume. The cost of that is also being borne by the contractor. We have a no-cost change order agreement relating to that contract for them to come in and make those additional modifications to their beams. So it looks like everything's moving ahead and should be completely resolved and as the design was intended by the end of their work here.
Good. Is the school kind of close to the public during that process, or what's going on?
The activity has taken place in the entire cafeteria commons area where they are utilizing some overhead lifts to get up and down handling materials. So we have closed off that commons area. The building is still being used. There's other means of access, the gymnasium and swimming pool, and so I believe they are continuing to provide permits and allowed use in those areas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Johnston. Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Leiter, for all of your information. I just had a question on the health, safety, and environmental management. The second item about the emergency response community meeting. Can you clarify how often that is held, where you pull together law enforcement and medical response agencies?
Member Loeffler-Kemp, I can't comment on exactly how often. I have been receiving some reports from Dave Halver, who is helping us in coordinating that area, along with Jason Barnes, who is our coordinator in health and safety management. I know that they've met a number of times. I've attended some of the meetings, and I guess Dave Halver and the school district can kind of take some credit for bringing together regional entities to collaborate and cooperate and discuss how to respond in emergencies, and I know those meetings have been identified as very valuable for all those entities, and key individuals from multiple organizations are being gathered. I want to say that it's monthly, but I'm not certain, so I'd have to confirm that.
Thank you, Mr. Leiter. Member Harla.
I just wanted to note, I got a couple of contacts about the closed playground at Congdon. No, it will be open in August because of the tile. So just wanted to, the tile roofing, and so that's something that's important. It was a 100-year roof that we're replacing with another, hopefully 100-year roof, the same material, the same, and the same company that put it on initially was there. But I also wanted to pass on, I heard from a few parents how thankful they are that the school garden didn't have to end over the summer, even though there was work on the other side of the building. So thank you for making sure that continued.
Sure, and
because that's a big piece of their education.
If you have driven by Congdon, you can see the roof work well underway. I understand possibly Thursday they'll start putting the replacement tile on that roof. Despite the rain and weather, they've been making really good progress, and it appears to be ahead of schedule, which means that if they are done and have left the site, sooner that playground and field will be back open and to the public's use.
Thank you. Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yeah, just while you're here, Mr. Leiter, if you could please share with your operations crew, our engineers, and our custodians. I know they put in a lot of hours and sweat and tears probably, during the summer, sprucing up our schools and cleaning them up, and just please do a little special recognition for them from the school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Loeffler-Kemp. Member Johnston.
Yeah, I have to say something about the roof in Congdon. Yeah, it's a nice roof, but that was not included in part of the long-range facilities plan. We spent $315 million and didn't even get a new roof on Congdon. To me, it's pretty embarrassing.
Well, it's been moved and seconded to approve the business committee report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have that as 7-0. There are no special resolutions. Any questions? Others? Member Johnston?
Yeah, just a suggestion. I was reading through our bylaws, and it does say that members of the public can be called upon at other times rather than just in the first start of the meeting. And it might be something that we can talk about, is that when there's a particular issue or a particular issue somebody wants to speak, we maybe want to utilize that bylaw to better give people a say when their issue is up. Suggestion, I'll probably talk about it next month at the business committee meeting.
Thank you. Seeing no other business in front of us, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for coming out.